The other day, Joe Biden released a video. Or should I say his wife released a video. You see, Dementia Joe is not capable of speaking on his own. And at this point, I almost feel bad for calling him Dementia Joe. Because it's getting to the point to where it's not funny, it's just sad. In this video that, let's just say his wife released, he just stands there. The entire video, he doesn't say a word. She speaks for him. He just kind of stares off into space, looking depressed. Like, what am I doing? Why are these people making me do this? What am I about to do? I don't understand what I'm doing. And then she says, future President Joe Biden. And then it's like it catches his attention and he smiles at the end and goes, and he doesn't say anything, but in his mind it's like something connects and it's like, oh yeah, Joe President. Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm doing, Joe President. He is not capable of being president. He's not capable of doing anything. He's not there. A couple of days ago, he had one of his best gaffes. They're calling it a gaff. I'm calling it a mind senior citizen fuck up. You see, he was being interviewed by a black radio host, and they ran out of time. And at the end of all this, they're saying goodbye. The radio host says, we hope to see you back soon. We have more questions for you. Joe Biden hiding in his basement. No one has seen him since the beginning of all this COVID-19 shit. Hiding in his basement, Joe Biden says, questions about what, man? If you don't know whether to vote for me or Trump, then you ain't black. And of course, this sparked outrage among the African Americans in this country. You see, African Americans, they're supposed to do what African Americans are supposed to do and vote Democratic and not Republican. You see, they fucked up last election. They were supposed to vote for Hillary Clinton. If you fuck up again this election, you ain't black, so get it right. Pretty much. And then later on, he's being interviewed again, and I just wanted to get this exact quote. He's being interviewed again, right? And he's supposed to be talking about how he's going to beat Trump and all this, but here's what he says. And how do you do this? I'm prepared, this is exact quote. I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden. Joe Biden said that about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is going to beat Joe Biden. That is like the ultimate senior citizen mindfuck moment right there. I have never, ever been talking about somebody else and accidentally called them Jim Ratcliffe. Ever. How the hell do you accidentally do that? That is the number one senior citizen moment right there. You get an award, Joe Biden. Senior Citizen of the Month. Dementia Joe. You know Grandpa Abe from The Simpsons, right? Just look at Grandpa Abe from The Simpsons, and that right there is Joe Biden. Rambling, talking about the past, not making any fucking sense, saying whatever goddamn random thing pops into his fucking head. Because he ain't there to know what's right and wrong to say, and what doesn't make sense, and what's right now, and what's 20 fucking years ago. Talking about, I'm Joe Biden, I'm running for the Senate. Motherfucker, you haven't ran for the Senate since 2008. You're running for president. That's another big thing right there. How do you fuck that up? This is the most important thing you're doing in your entire life. And you accidentally fuck it up and say you're running for the Senate. How can the Democrats be pushing this motherfucker as their candidate? How? How can this motherfucker be running for president? How is this motherfucker not sitting in a home somewhere? How is this motherfucker's wife allowing this to go on? How is she okay with this? This is fucked up on her part. This is just rude. This is like senior citizen abuse. This is beyond rude. This is like elder abuse. How does she live with herself? She's watching him struggle, and she's on stage with him smiling. There is one speech where he just trails off at the end, and he just stands there and stares at the crowd for a while. She has to come to his rescue. And when she comes up to the stage, it's like it startled him, and it brought him back to reality. And he still stood there. She whispered something in his ear. And he still stood there staring at the crowd for another minute and said, okay, and walks off stage. How does she live with herself, allowing this motherfucker to run for president, to put himself out there, to do anything other than sit around the house whittling or some fucking bullshit? He shouldn't be doing this. This is not right. The Democrats are hoping that they will win the White House because he was Obama's vice president. They're hoping he will live right off of Obama's name, I guess. And I don't know what they're thinking. Anything it takes to get to the White House. How could anybody, how the hell does this motherfucker even have supporters? How could anybody vote for him? You would have to have Trump derangement syndrome to the max to even consider voting for this guy who doesn't even know what he's talking about more than half the time. I used to say it was half the time, but now it's obviously more than half the time when he's accidentally calling somebody else his own name. This is terrifying. Consider what happens if things go wrong in November and we end up with this motherfucker as president and the White House dealing with China, who's going to be screwing us over again, screwing with Iran, who we're going to be sponsoring again, they're going to screw up. Can you imagine this motherfucker in the White House? I can't even imagine. This is scary. If things go wrong in November and he actually gets there, this country is just absolutely gone. It's over everything. And the Democrats, they don't care whether or not this guy is competent enough to run for president. Just as long as they think maybe he can get into office. Bernie Sanders was obviously not going to beat Trump. The only thing that Joe Biden has going for him was that he was Obama's vice president, and this country seemed to fucking worship Obama. Of course, they're probably thinking he's going to get the black vote because they lost so much of the black vote in the last election. But think, you would just have to be so delusional with hate against Trump to vote for Joe Biden. And if he's successful, we are in serious trouble. It's a tragedy beyond any comprehension. And as for voting by mail, Trump threatened Michigan because Michigan's crazy-ass governor bitch was going to do voting by mail too. Maybe she still is. I haven't heard an update. Wouldn't surprise me. She's out of her fucking mind. She's a total piece of shit. But Trump threatened to withhold funding from Michigan. He wasn't specific what kind of funding, but funding if they went ahead and expanded their voting by mail and decided that was going to be what they were going to do. I haven't heard what's happened. I haven't heard an update since that, so I can't tell you how that's turned out. But in California, as far as their voting by mail, Republicans have sued the governor of California to try to stop, because what they were going to do was everybody was going to do voting by mail in this coming presidential election. So the Republicans have sued the governor to try to stop that from happening. Hopefully they'll be successful. because, you know, who the hell trusts voting by mail? I don't. Trump doesn't. My wife doesn't, and she doesn't even give a shit about any of this. It's common sense that sending in millions of votes by mail is going to... You have the risk of fraud, obviously. And when the president is so controversial like Trump and so hated, you're inviting fraud. Absolutely. And if this expands, if this goes to other states, spreads to other states, and they do the exact same thing, we're looking at total fraud. China introduced a bill last year that was going to give them more control over Hong Kong. You see, in 1997, until 1997, Hong Kong was a colony of Britain. Then in 1997, Britain gave Hong Kong back to China on the agreement that for 50 years they would have a one country, two party system. Meaning, mainland China is communist, Hong Kong's a democracy. Now, I don't know how free they are compared to us. I'm sure it's nowhere near us, but they are free compared to mainland China. Last year, China introduced a bill that was going to give them more control over Hong Kong. Hong Kong's response was anger. Pure, just raw anger. Millions of people took to the street for months, and it continues on to this day, protesting, burning down their city, all kinds of just intense shit. It got to the point to where rioters were even being killed by the police. This led to us signing a bill to protect our human rights, yada yada. Beijing, China, they've been chipping away at Hong Kong's freedoms for years, and this bill was going to give them a lot of control. They took the bill away. They decided, okay, we're not going to do that. Now, China has introduced a new bill that they're saying is even worse than the first bill. That's going to give them a whole lot more control, even more so than the first bill was going to, over Hong Kong. The people of Hong Kong have once again took to the streets and they are protesting. I don't think they're as intense as last time yet. I don't really know. But yes, they are of course protesting. Now, Beijing is determined. They're going to get this law passed. Hong Kong, their leadership, unfortunately, is going along. They're going to cooperate and help this bill become law. And this is probably going to happen, and it's going to take effect. It's going to go down, I believe, Thursday is when the bill will be signed into law. We can expect massive riots from Hong Kong, probably even worse than what we saw before. China has, the United States has said that if China goes forward with this bill and it becomes law, we're going to sanction them. Now, China, we've been sanctioning them for a long time. Plus, their economy was shitty before this virus. This virus came, made it even shittier. Now imagine we put additional sanctions on them. Plus, they're being sued out the ass from different places. um, China's economy is really going to be put in the shitter. It's not going to be a pretty picture for them, and they deserve every bit of it. They're horrible, just evil people. Their leadership, not their citizens. And so if this bill becomes law, we are going to apply sanctions, and China has already said there will be consequences for this. Now, tensions are really rising between the United States and China. We are heading toward a Cold War. All the signs are there. And this is only making things worse. Tensions that just keep rising, and it's just everything's reaching a boiling point, and it's hard to say where this is all going to go. The world keeps just getting scarier and scarier, and it just keeps getting worse. You would think that the world's second largest economy would be more civilized than this, but they're really not. Like, I had always, before I started learning about China, I had always assumed that since they are the world's second largest economy, they must not be that different than us. They must be civilized people. And then this all breaks out, and I start learning more and more about China, and they are not. They are barbaric. And it's really sad. And I feel so sorry for the citizens of China who have to live with this leadership that's just out of its fucking mind, barbaric, crazy, insane. It's just really sad. Where this all goes is anybody's guess. But it's a scary time in the world. Makes you think about if by some weird chance, I don't think a war between the United States and China would actually happen. But if it did, we would be looking at a World War III situation 100%. All this shit that's going down makes me worry about World War III end times, that kind of thought. But we have to defend Hong Kong. We have to stand up for their freedoms. We can't just allow China to do this. We, of course, have to do something. Sanctions is our best options because we don't want some kind of full-on war. But we have to stand behind Hong Kong 100%. And this president and this country and many countries around the world, we're going to do that 100%.